start it again. Gray on Gray podcast, episode 8. Got my guy DP Harris, Don Paul Harris, basketball coach, head basketball coach, St. Thomas University. Don Paul Harris, DP. We've been trying to get this thing going. You're the busiest guy on campus. All right, so just talk a little bit about how you got to St. Thomas.
Well, it's good to be here, Alex, and you're one of my favorite guys on campus, so he talks about this. But no, I got to St. Thomas really from Pennsylvania. I worked at a Benedictine Catholic College for 23 years and had the wonderful opportunity to work with the Benedictine monks. And along the way, it was the best time of my life. My wife wanted to come to Florida, and we had have a stepson who was going through some things, and we decided to come here and give it a chance. And President Armstrong had become a new president, and I had been familiar with him from being at Thomas More College in Kentucky. And so I took a leap of faith and came here and been working with you guys ever since.
So you started your career as an NAIA coach, correct?
Started as an NAIA guy and coached a few years of high school basketball.
Where?
Wheeling Park High School in Wheeling, West Virginia, where I played. And Sydney Moss, who works here, her father played at DuPont High School. And and they also had Jason Williams. And
you coached against them?
I coached against them. Yeah, I'm old, man. And so it was my first high school game, and we played them in the Cole Classic in Charleston, West Virginia, and we beat them. And then later that year, because they were just coming out of football, later that year they went on to win the state championship. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So you went from there to St. Vincent?
Yeah.
And then you were in the American
Mid-East Conference.
Mid-East Conference. That's Division II NAIA basketball.
Absolutely.
You competed against Walsh University on a
Absolutely.
handful of occasions. A guy by the name of Jeff Young.
Jeff Young.
Your nemesis.
Not my nemesis. Jeff Young's a great coach. Actually, we both got our jobs the same year. And we both
when he became the head coach.
Yeah,
when Coach Lloyd passed.
When Coach Lloyd passed, we both became head coaches at the same time. We were probably two of the hottest young coaches in the country. Together, our record, our first year was probably we lost 4 games, and he lost 2 to me. I lost 1 to him. I lost in the national tournament. He won the national championship.
Won the
so, yeah.
That was y'all first years?
Yeah,
that was his first full-time year.
Yeah, his first full-time year.
Because the year before that was when Coach Lloyd passed.
Yeah,
and took over the middle
part-time.
of the year.
Yeah, but he got Robert Whaley, and Jared got him that guy, and he had an advantage. I had all those nice, kids on my team. I didn't have Robert Whaley. I mean, University of Cincinnati. I mean, I just had 4 All-Americans.
You had 4 All-Americans. He got the D1 stud, who was a second-round draft pick. I think he was number 42 overall. I just remember watching the draft, seeing him get drafted, and he eventually.
Why do you think I came back to the NAIA? I had a steal page out of his book. That's what we're doing here with these D1 transfers.
Taking some D1 transfers.
Yeah, just trying to do what Walsh did.
Doing your thing here.
Yeah. I mean, all you guys are from Ohio, so I got to do something like you guys.
What do you mean do something like that?
I got to have that Ohio trend. You guys, most of the guys that work here, you guys are all Ohio guys, so I got to kind of pillage it.
You're from 2 hours away from where we're from.
Yeah, exactly.
2.5 hours away from Cleveland, Ohio.
It's just the difference between Cleveland and Pittsburgh are those 6 Super Bowl championships, right?
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Talk about that. Talk about the Steelers.
I was leading you there all the way. Probably one of the, we had a chance to go to Steeler training camp, and I really think it's where football started. I really believe that the Rooneys and what football stands for in Pittsburgh, at St. Vincent College, 52 years they've been the summer home of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Alex and I both had a chance to be there. Part of my job was I helped run training camp for my years at St. Vincent, and when I came here, I saw Alex, and I said, I got to get this guy up to St. Vincent, not because I want to make him a Steeler fan or anything like that, but I think the more that you can see leadership and you can see different programs, whether it's at the NFL or college level or high school, I think if you can help somebody out in life and you have a key, you should always open doors up for people.
Well, talk about some of the guys who helped you out. Like, so from your first time coaching, and as you moved through the ranks as a head coach and, assistant coach to head coach, high school to college, who were some of the guys that shaped your leadership style?
Well, I grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia, so I'd have to say Skip Prosser, who was the head coach of Xavier and went to Wake Forest, but he was our high school coach. And my brother went to Wheeling Catholic Central. And then Sam Andy, who won 500 games at Wheeling Park High School, where I played. And then we had Jim O'Brien, who was the head coach of Wheeling Jesuit, and he took them to the Final Four.
And same guy was at Ohio State?
No, he was at the head coach of the Pacers, and he was the head coach of the 76ers. But Coach O'Brien, he was our local college coach, and he did a great job. And then I'd have to say just the, through the years, I became a head coach so early. But there's a guy from Medina, Ohio, Joe DeRosa. He's an NBA referee. And Gene Steratore. If you look on my credenza over there, you would see a picture of Gene, who's an NFL referee. He was a college referee in basketball, but he impacted my career pretty a lot because he taught me about what referees think. And then I would say definitely Coach Tomlin, the Rooney organization, Mr. Rooney, and just the access to them, the players, Ramon Foster, Willie Colon, all those guys.
What did you kind of get from them? Like, what did Coach Tomlin and the Rooney's, what about their leadership styles was it that?
I tell you what they taught me was to respect the man, to respect somebody and see past the money. Mr. Rooney was a very simple man, and just that organization of being humble, that we're blessed to coach this game, to be around the players, to teach people lifelong skills. One of my friends that I really look up to, I think he's the most successful guy I know, and is Jed Hughes. He runs Corey and Corey, and he manages Corey and Corey. He just started his own podcast, but he coached, and I was listening to his podcast. He coached with 7 Hall of Fame coaches. Started his career at UCLA, worked for Bo Schembechler, worked for Chuck Noll, worked for Tony Dungy. It's amazing what this man has done. And, I played golf with him a few days ago, with him and his son. And when you get around that type of leadership, you're in the room of excellence. Anytime I got to be around Mr. Green, Joe Green, if you look at, Roger Goodell, he's right there. The picture's right there. John Madden. I didn't really get to know those guys, but just to be around them, they carried themselves in a certain way. And to me, the conversations that I had with, whether it was Kevin Colbert or, Mike Tomlin, Mike and I, we never talk about football. We always talk about our kids. We talk about what's going on in America. What's going on, how can we help people? I think that's what resonated with me was, working with the people all across the years. We never talked about football. We always talked about helping people.
So, not just knowing you a little bit and having been around you for the last year and a half or whatever it's been, and taking, the trip to Latrobe and seeing where you used to work and interacting with some of your former players. Obviously, you got Ket here. Dr. Jeff Mallory is a guy who you've connected me with, who I have great respect for in the short time that he and I have known each other. Talk a little bit about how you develop those relationships, because one of the things that I've noticed about you and what is attractive about some of the places that you've been is those relationships. You have lifelong relationships with your former players, their kids, their spouses, all of those different things. And just, how do you develop that relationship with your guys?
Again, I think it's, my wife and I am godparents to several of my former players' kids. We have traveled the country with my players our players, whether we took them to Vegas or Chicago, wherever we went, we always put something academic around it. But I think too many times in coaching that we get caught up in what the guys do on the court or on the field. And I always have been, I want to get to know you as a man. I don't want you to trust me. I always tell our guys when we're recruiting, don't trust me. I can recruit with anybody, it doesn't matter. I've done this so long. I want to earn your trust. I want you to see that I'm authentic, that I believe in you, that I care about you, that, coaches say, I'm here for the next 44 years. Show me. Call me in the middle of the night when I'm having problems with my wife. Call me in the middle of the night when I maybe had a little bit too much to drink and I don't trust myself to drive. Call me when my mom died. Call me when my dad died. Call me when I'm Coach Smith and I'm in the middle of Afghanistan or Iraq and I get one phone call for maybe 20 minutes and it's the worst time of your life. Those are how you build those relationships. And, anybody can be there for you in the best of time. I never cut a net down. We won, I think, 16 championships or 15 whatever championships at St. Vincent. And I never cut the net down one time because I never thought that was my place. My place was the game's about the players. And if we just keep it to that, you never have any problems.
So you've had, I know you busted my stones about it because I got it wrong. What was it, 15 or 16 straight 21 seasons?
I think 13.
13 straight 21
this right
seasons?
Here. I don't know if it was straight, but I think that's how many I have.
Oh, I thought it was the straight. Okay, that's how many you have total.
No.
Okay.
No,
so
the most I had one losing season in my entire life, okay, and since coaching. And it was the best season that I ever had because you know what? I found out I hate losing. And I hate it. It drove me crazy. But I learned more about myself because I didn't work hard that year.
So when you start talking about recruiting,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously, like you talked about getting some Division I kids and all that stuff, there's talent, right? You've been to the national semifinals, you've been to the national tournament.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point, the talent levels out, right? I mean, everybody's got dogs at a certain point. Those teams that are playing later in the year, they usually have the best players. I mean, that's that's football, that's basketball, no matter what it is. So, what is it that separates your teams of being able to continuously win year after year, late into seasons where some teams who may have equal talent may falter off, or what gives you the advantage in those games versus teams where you're like, oh shoot, they have equal talent to us, or maybe even they might have one or two extra guys that I may not have. What is it that separates your teams from those teams when it comes down to it?
Well, I think that what separates us is what happens in our locker room. The relationships, what trust the guy to the right of you, trust the guy to the left of you, the moments and the tight moments, playing in tight places, practicing it every single day where you simulate those tough situations so the game becomes easy. Making practice harder. And then guys, I knew we were going to be good last year. I mean, when I took this job, this was a terrible job. I mean, when I say terrible, they had 2 basketballs, a deflated ball, a pink locker room, and something that they were calling a basketball program. And I knew it was going to be a tough, and in all due respect to President Armstrong, he said there was some heavy lifting here. And there was. But I will tell you, you got a good team at the end of the year when guys are saying, hey, can we get some individual development in? Hey, can we practice a little longer? And that's when you know you have a good team. My teams have always been that way. They've gotten better at the end of the year. They've always been guys who, they have a hunger. And it all starts in recruiting. When you sit down in that living room inside somebody's house, why lie? Because the truth's going to come out. What do you think? I'm some nice guy? Dude, I'm not as nice guy as you think. There's going to be tough love. There's going to be times when we're not going to like each other. Hey, there's going to be times where, hey, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say things that rub you the wrong way. But at the end of the day, if you love your guys and they believe in you, there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing. And if you lie to your guys and you're something you're not, players will sniff you out every single time. And I want our guys to call me out. If I'm not doing what I say I'm going to do, I want my guys to call me out.
So with the current climate of our world, obviously there's some heavy protesting, there's a lot of stuff going on. How do you find common ground with basketball being, I'm sure the majority of the team is primarily African American, a lot of the guys that I've met that you've coached have been African American. Where do you find the common ground to be able to not only have a little bit of sympathy for the events that have gone on, but to have some empathy for these guys that you care about and guys that you've grown close to, like you said, you're the godparents of their kids and these things. How do you find that empathy to be able to put yourself in their shoes and to be able to help them through these tough times?
Listen, the guys who I coach, we start on ground zero. Don't trust me. Secondly, we start on ground zero that life's going to be tough. You know, I grew up, I was raised by a single mom. I married a single mom. And a lot of my guys come from tough backgrounds, okay? For me, with our players, I make it very simple. Don't ever underestimate the change that you can make. You know, Joey Butler, who played for me, his brother is Lamar Butler, played on the Final Four team at George Mason. I remember when Obama was elected, and I don't care who you vote for. I really don't. On my end, Joey brought in absentee ballots for all his players that were on the team. And Joey said, I don't care who you vote for, but vote. And it was one of the most beautiful things that I thought happened. In our current climate where we live right now, we had a Zoom meeting, and I'm not a big Zoom guy because I like to see you face to face. I want to be able to reach out and touch you, reach out and grab you, reach out. Whenever you see me with one of my players, we always hug. My former players will always hug each other because we think it starts there. But I will tell you this, that on that Zoom call, we have a young guy here, Amon Ellington, who's going to be a freshman. Amon's from Birmingham, Alabama. And I had players who have their PhD, guys who are, they have their MBA. We had 38 guys that former players of mine. And then the kids from here were on the Zoom call. And Amon Ellington, 19 years old, talks about being from Birmingham, Alabama, and spoke so elegant, so with passion. And, I have Dr. Jeff Mallory. He's on there. And, Jeff's an African-American male who wakes up every day trying to help everybody. And I'm proud. I got to be honest with you.
But his role, I'm sorry to cut you off, his role is about diversity and
Chief Diversity Officer at Duquesne University,
right.
Captain. So I'm so proud of him. And like I said, I'm godfather to his son.
Yeah.
But Jeff and I have conversations, and we had white guys who had played for me reach out to him and say, I'm not feeling right about this. And them having that dialogue. When you play on a team with guys, we should be able to agree to disagree. I really believe that. We don't have to have the same views. And you should, if you played for me, you should be